If you're making any of these common mistakes in your marketing, you're losing time and money.
No big deal then.
Luckily, all these things are pretty easy to fix, and since they're so common, fixing them is going to put you above your competitors. By the way, last mistake is a total doozy. You'll kick yourself you didn't spot it sooner. We've worked with hundreds of clients and we see the same digital marketing mistakes again and again. Most of these stem from a lack of planning. This doesn't just apply to brand new businesses, by the way. We see it just as often with well-established brands. We worked with a SaaS client that was making a good amount of yearly revenue, but was struggling to pin down what they needed to do to take their marketing to the next level. We identified that the number one mistake was that they didn't have a clear long-term strategy in mind. This meant that lots of stuff from their past marketing was getting in the way of their current business growth. For example, they had a solid website, but it was hard-coded, and that made it very difficult to edit and update if you weren't the person who originally coded it. This meant that we couldn't make the changes that we needed to make to it as an agency, things like updating copy and improving its SEO. But even if there isn't an agency involved, having a website like this can cause huge problems if the developer gets sick or leaves the company. You're left with a website that can't easily change and grow with the company.
But won't starting from scratch be expensive?
Well, potentially not if you compare it to the amount of revenue that you can lose when you can't make basic changes to your website, like for SEO and conversion rate optimization. Another problem we encountered is that the business actually became a bit of a victim of its own success once we started implementing the marketing campaign. We had to pull back because the client had too many leads and they didn't have the processes or capacity to handle them all.
Alright, sounds like a weird flex disguised as a problem, but okay.
What I mean is if you're going to put the effort into building out your marketing, you need to make sure you've got the processes and the back end to actually be able to cope with any increase in business. You may need to reprioritize some of your leads or handle new staff to cope with the new demand. Otherwise, all that awesome marketing just goes to waste. This is why planning ahead is so key. If as part of your marketing strategy, you want to have more case studies and testimonials on your website, you need to be collecting these right away. If you know that your website needs an update, but it's a right pain to get anything done on it, then maybe you just need to bite the bullet and get that thing overhauled. If your main goal is to generate more leads, then you need to make sure you've got a plan in place to actually be able to process those leads once they come through.
I want a plan, but I don't know where to start with these changes.
The team here at Exposure Ninja has a fantastic free website and marketing review service. Just head over to exposureninja.com/review, fill in a few details about your business, and we will send over a packed video showing you exactly what to do to generate more leads and sales through your digital marketing. Totally free. Another mistake we see all too often is businesses trying to target an audience that is too broad. One issue marketers face today is that there are so many channels, with new platforms coming out all the time and conflicting information about which ones marketers should be prioritizing. Because of this, you feel like you need to be on all platforms and targeting all marketing channels to reach a massive audience, meaning you can't put enough time and energy to nail any one channel or focus on the ones that are going to deliver the highest ROI for you.
But I want to target everyone. More people equals more customers equals more revenue.
Shinobi, you're so wrong. We worked with a software client that had a great AI-driven product, but they were really struggling to sell it. They came to us asking for help to drive more traffic, but what we actually identified is that they first needed help picking an audience to go after. So we helped them pick an audience which would really value their service, meaning they could charge a higher price. We wrote a book for them specifically for this audience and run LinkedIn ads to it, generating £105,000 worth of leads for every £1,000 of ad spend. Yeah. So instead of trying to target everyone by focusing their audience down by narrowing into a niche, that we were able to laser target this audience, which got them loads more traction. Now, if you're struggling to pin down your audience, which can be an issue for businesses of all shapes and sizes, the first thing you could do is talk to your customers. You can reach out to recent customers and ask them about your business. What was it that appealed to you? Why did they choose you over competitors? Using this insight in your marketing can be really powerful. We run customer calls for clients, and in most cases, all you have to do is ask. People are happy to be asked about their experience and give their opinions. If you want to go wild, you can offer them an Amazon voucher in return for their time. Now, if you're struggling to get the answers that you really need from your customers on these research calls, you can ask them really open questions like, if we wanted to get more customers like you, what do you think we should do? Or what sort of customers do you think we should be marketing our product or service to? Once you have this really clear idea of your target audience in mind, it's much easier to choose the channels and the strategies that are going to make sense to get in front of more of those people. Remember the ebook. This also means you can tailor your social media content, your email, your website content more specifically to this target audience, which is going to get you much more traction with them. You'll also be able to target the most relevant and profitable keywords in search. This is really important, but particularly if you're in a competitive space. For example, we worked with a client who set us a target of generating 60 quality leads per month by spring 2022. Well, we helped them define their target audience. In February 2022, we generated them 65 leads. By March, we hit 160, and by April, 185. All of this because we were able to focus all of our energy on the people that were most likely to buy rather than those that would just waste time. Marketing mistake number 3, not knowing your competitors.
Oh, don't worry, I know who my competitors are.
Are those your business competitors or your online competitors? This might seem like semantics, but if you do a search on Google for your target keywords, sometimes the businesses that show up, your online competitors, aren't who you might think they are. Whilst you might compete with your business competitors by, say, going to the same events or competing for the same customers, you have to compete against your online competitors slightly differently. I remember when I was learning to drive, I was out driving with my mum, and she said to me, "Tim, I don't check my mirrors. What happens behind me is other people's problems." That's exactly how she talks. Trouble is, if you apply this principle to your digital marketing, then you end up with no one behind you. As Brian Tracy says, they're so far behind, they think they're in front. Lols, love a bit of savage Brian. In some industries, the biggest players have become complacent. They no longer innovate, they no longer push as hard as they could online. They're not moving with the times. But why should they? Why not just stick with what they've always done? After all, others in the industry look up to them and copy what they do. This sort of situation, though, can be a goldmine for marketing disruptors. Combine this with your audience research and you've got tons of potential to disrupt your industry. A variation of this problem is actually not being ambitious enough. Often when we see a business is pretty happy with its lead or sales volume, it'll stop trying, it'll stop exploring new channels and testing new strategies. The best marketers pay attention to all the fastest growing brands targeting a similar audience to them, regardless of whether they're in the same industry or not. Look at the way these brands position themselves and the language that they use with their customers. How do they present themselves on their website? If you're a customer, what reasons would you have to choose them over you? Read their content, follow them on social, pay attention to the copy that they're using and their calls to action. For example, are they trying to nudge people towards purchase in one piece, but in another piece they're pushing people to a downloadable? Use tools like SEMrush to see which of the pages on their site are getting the most traffic and which keywords they're targeting. Sign up to their mailing list and see what sorts of emails they're sending out. How long does it take them to pitch you on their product or service? What sort of questions are they asking up front that might help them segment their audience? Follow their social media accounts as well. What are they posting on different platforms? How is the messaging different? And which ones are they prioritizing?
So I just copy what they do.
Let's not be copying, let's take inspiration. After all, who's to say your competitors are actually getting it right? You don't just want to be following blindly. So use what you've learned about your competitors and your online competitors, as well as other businesses that you've observed outside your niche but targeting the same audience to influence your marketing decisions. There's one thing that so many businesses get wrong that even fixing all of the above mistakes won't solve, and that is a failing funnel.
Like a money-wasting sieve, just pouring leads all over the floor.
Sure. We meet so many businesses that seem to, on the surface, be doing everything right with their marketing, but it's just not bringing them the growth that they need. But they request a free website and marketing review, and we immediately spot that there's some component of their funnel that just isn't working. We regularly help our clients overhaul their funnels and get dramatic results. Sometimes it's just a little tweak that can make all of the difference. So start by seeing where in your funnel people are dropping off or not being catered for. It could be that you're raising loads of awareness for your business, but once people are landing on your website, they're not converting because of unclear positioning or unclear messaging or weak calls to action. Maybe they're even interested in what you offer, but there's a lack of content on your website which is sort of funneling them towards making that purchase. If they're considering you and comparing you against other options, maybe they're then going to competitors because those competitors have a wealth of video content and blogs and tutorials and guides to help people make that decision. It may be that they're almost ready to convert, but there's a lack of case studies or testimonials, objection handling devices, and credibility triggers on your website that give them that final nudge. Maybe they need a free trial to convert. Finally, once they've become a customer, don't forget about them. You want to make sure you're using all of the retention channels that they're going to respond best to, whether that's social media, email, or SMS.
Any examples of how to fix these leaks, Tim?
Always, Shinobi. Let's say you're getting loads of traffic on your website because of your new really clear content strategy and some amazing posts on social. Next up, you're going to be wanting to add some great email marketing automations. We added 14% revenue to an e-commerce furniture client of ours just by adding automations in their email to people who'd been on the website but hadn't purchased yet. We also added $2 million of revenue to a kids' clothing brand in just 6 months by doing the same thing, adding email automations for people who've been on the site and hadn't purchased yet, and tweaking and refining those automations so they were really productive and very effective at generating new sales. You've put in all the energy to get someone onto your site in the first place, so now it's just a case of incentivizing them to give you their email address and building in those automations and automated follow-ups to help turn those people into customers. Now that you've got an amazing plan in place, a clear target audience, a telescope on your competitors, and a less leaky funnel, it's time to improve your content marketing strategy. Check out this video on everything you need to know about content marketing. It's truly immense, even if I do say so myself.